Hey guys, how's it going? Everyone's been making a video on this, and I'm sure people are gonna keep making videos on it, but figured I'd throw my 2 cents in. Hulk Hogan going to TNA, everyone on the planet knows by now. One of the biggest moments in the history of professional wrestling. Um, Very shocking. I could not believe it. It was one of those moments where I think a lot of people are going to remember where they were when they heard that Hulk Hogan signed with TNA. As far as the negatives and positives, a lot of people are gonna jump down TNA's throats for doing this. Hulk Hogan not very popular, especially in the internet wrestling community. But the fact of the matter is, he's still Hulk Hogan. He may be 56 years old with a hip replacement and a knee replacement, but he's still Hulk Hogan. It remains to be seen how this is all gonna play out. Hogan is gonna be the rumors that are going around is that Hogan will be basically he'll be the head of the creative team pretty much. He's pretty much gonna be able to control how he's booked and pretty much how everyone else is booked. So we'll see what he does with that. I doubt that Vince Russo will be there much longer if Hogan's there. Very bad blood between those two. I highly doubt that Vince Russo will stay with TNA, which I don't necessarily consider a bad thing because I'm not exactly the biggest Vince Russo fan of all time. But I think he takes a little bit too much credit for the Attitude Era, personally. And he did awful with TNA the second time around. I mean, with WCW, towards the end of WCW, I think he really did awful, and some of the stuff he does with TNA leaves me scratching my head. So I wouldn't necessarily be upset to see Russo go, but I just hope that Hogan doesn't look out for just Hogan. I mean, he says that he wants to take the company to the next level. Well, he's going to have to change some of his ways if that's going to happen. Hulk Hogan is known for burying people and not wanting to put people over. He's going to need to be putting people over, or at least not being on top 24/7. I'm sure he will have the TNA Championship at some point, but it'll be very interesting to see if Hulk Hogan's ego gets in the way of TNA moving up. But this is definitely going to bring in a lot of mainstream fans, a lot of mainstream publicity for TNA. So that's a huge positive. I'm sure that's the biggest thing TNA is looking at right now. I'm just afraid it might give Hulk Hogan a little too much power, but we'll see what he does with it. Eric Bischoff is there too. He's working with TNA with his entertainment company, working with Spike TV. So he wants to get some of his shows in Spike, obviously, and he'll definitely bring a new point of view to TNA. I'm sure he'll have some things to say about it to Dixie Carter, so we'll see how much she listens, or if she should listen. Eric Bischoff has some good ideas sometimes, but some others are not so great. I think personally, I think Eric Bischoff is pretty overrated, but that's just my thinking. The guy in WCW, in WCW, I think he's vastly overrated with the stuff he did with WCW. All he pretty much did was bring in a lot of talent that was put over in WWE, and just keep them up on top with WCW. Very few stars were created in WCW. So I mean, as far as like homegrown guys, I could think of maybe Goldberg, DDP, Booker T. That's about it. Everyone else was a guy that they took from WWE. So, I mean, he did some good things with NWO and the Cruiserweight division, even though he kind of stole that from ECW. But he deserves credit, but I think he gets talked up a little bit too high sometimes. As far as the TNA after Hulk Hogan, we're going to see a lot. I think we're going to see a very different type of show. I don't think they're going to change the core of the show. At least I hope they don't. But they're probably going to... rumors that are going around is they'll probably be moving well, not moving, but adding a show on a Monday night slot to compete directly with Raw. That should be interesting, especially with Raw's ratings being a little skeptical lately. Hopefully that'll hopefully end the guest host thing, I would think, if they're going to have some real competition head to head. But then again, they think that the guest host thing means ratings, so maybe not. But TNA definitely became pretty legitimate just with signing Hulk Hogan. So we'll see what happens with all the fallout from this, because there will be there's rumors that there will be other talent coming with Hogan. I've heard names like DDP, Ric Flair. I've heard actually Mr. Anderson or Mr. Kennedy too. So we'll see how that all plays out. I mean, Flair, not really that excited to see him in TNA. DDP, not that excited. Kennedy or Anderson, that would be nice to see. I'm not the biggest Anderson fan. Mr. Anderson fan. I think in the ring he's pretty good. On the mic he's great, but I think there's just some stuff that surrounds him, like the whole Bob Holly situation and just certain things that have nothing to do with wrestling, really, that make me not like Mr. Anderson too much. But I have nothing against him as a wrestler. His personal, the way he carries himself is something I have a deal with. I have a bit of a problem with. But other than that, I have nothing against Mr. Anderson or Mr. Kennedy, whatever. But Monday nights, there you go. I was kind of zoned out there for a second. On Monday nights, Raw's looking pretty good. At least the last week it was good. I mean, the last few weeks have been decent. There's been some bad stuff, but this week's Raw was pretty good. I really enjoyed the Kofi Kingston promo as well. As I've heard Spinnernet say for sure. I'm sure a lot of other people enjoyed it. I really like Kofi Kingston's new persona. Like, me and my buddy were watching Raw, and I was just leaning over to him. And I was just telling him, man, this is a really good promo. This could be the beginning of some big things for Kofi Kingston. So we'll see where they go with that. I'm interested to see the Orton Kofi Kingston feud. I'm interested to see what they do with Orton and DiBiase with the tension going there. I'm assuming this is leading to a WrestleMania match. Next week should be interesting with Ozzy Osbourne and Sharon Osbourne guest hosting. They should be a good pair to host Raw. So I'm looking forward to Raw next week. Impact was pretty good as usual. It's been good the last few weeks. I knew Hogan wasn't going to debut last night, just because they already pre-taped it. So obviously there's no way he's gonna debut on a pre-taped show. So he'll probably debut next week. So that should be pretty exciting. It's a good time to be a wrestling fan right now. I'm really enjoying it. So we'll see what happens with TNA and WWE, and see you guys soon. Subscribe as always, and leave your comments if you want, and I'll see you guys later.